Hey Run Junkies, a few weeks ago I passed along some pointers that I picked up from session 1 of the Perform Like a Mother webinar series, and today I want to kind of continue that with session 2. These webinars are hosted by the Train Like a Mother Club and led by Dr. Justin Ross, who is a sports psychologist here in Denver. For more information about him and the Train Like a Mother Club, please check out the links in the description below. But today, let's talk about what he calls developing the high performance mindset. In this session, Dr. Ross talked a lot about how our minds and our positive self-talk can have an influence on our athletic journey. And what I found the most interesting is that he said this is teachable. This is a teachable skill. Because think of it this way, part of the human condition is making decisions based on past experiences and environmental circumstances. When we do this as athletes, we are applying that decision-making process before, during, and after our runs. What we may find is that that positive decision-making process may enhance our performance. So Dr. Ross starts out this conversation by asking a couple of questions regarding mental fitness and mental toughness. He asked the question, how much time are you spending on your mental fitness and preparation in relationship to how much time you're spending on your physical fitness and preparation? This is a very interesting question, isn't it? If we're not spending a lot of time on that mental fitness, we need to know, kind of be self-aware and self-reflective of how prepared are we really. So once we define that mental fitness, mental toughness piece of it, we can decide what happens next going forward, what we need to focus on. The next thing Dr. Ross discusses is the limiting factors of our performance. And what this really boils down to is how uncomfortable are we willing to be to achieve the goals that we set for ourselves? How willing are we to live and embrace that discomfort? Because let's face it, running is uncomfortable. So the more we train our brains to live in that place of discomfort, or embrace the suck as I like to call it, the more success we might have on our running journey. Now he goes on to say that there are several schools of thought around this whole mind-body relationship, this willingness to be uncomfortable in the running journey. And the most pervading and most recent school of thought on this is that it's not the body that hits the wall first. It's the mind. It's your brain that says, you know what? I am done putting in this mental energy to be this uncomfortable for this much longer. I'm done, I'm over it. And this is where the mental toughness piece comes in, because we have to tell our brains, we have to quiet that voice, because our bodies probably have more to give. In fact, we need to kind of change the language around that and say, no, I'm not done. I've got more to give. If you have goals to add big miles or fast times, we have to put a lot of time and energy and mental effort into being uncomfortable. Sounds like a great time, doesn't it? But in order to achieve those goals, we have to put ourselves in that place of discomfort. And if we don't do that, we have to make a decision. Am I going to be uncomfortable, or am I going to stop? We can learn that even though we have a really hard interval workout coming up, or we have to go out for a 20-miler, and we just know that is going to hurt, and it's going to hurt a lot. But doing that workout, if we can think of it as a challenge, if we can go into those hard workouts and say, I am going to get something out of this, it not only makes us physically stronger, but mentally stronger as well. My favorite quote from the whole webinar was when Dr. Ross said this: you cannot improve as an endurance athlete unless you change your relationship with your perception of effort. I love that. Again, it's embracing the suck and what Dr. Ross calls suffering better. Dr. Ross goes on to explain that this is a challenge mindset. So it goes like this. We know that going into a hard workout, it's going to be hard. There's not a lot of fun. Maybe the weather's awful. Maybe it's just going to be a hard workout. But this is where we prove to ourselves what we're capable of at this point in our circumstances, at this snapshot in time. This is where we have a choice of where we want to lay our focus. We can choose to be miserable about it and say, you know what, I am not going to enjoy this, I'm not going to get anything out of this. Or we can say, this is the challenge I'm laying before myself. let's do it. It may not be fun or even pretty, but it does flex that mental muscle to ask the question, can I show up for this challenge in this moment? And then it gets even more interesting because Dr. Ross starts talking about doubt. Raise your hand if you have ever doubted your abilities as a runner. Yeah, you too? Wow. Yeah, it's a thing. Yes, he explains that doubt is a thing. We have all kind of experienced that in our lives at one point or another, but it is another tool to make us stronger. Doubt is the sign that you are challenging yourself, that you are embracing the suck, that you are wondering, oh my gosh, can I even do this? Because it's pushing out the boundaries of what you think you're capable of. You'll come back from that fitter, faster, and stronger, not just physically, but mentally as well. Doubt is the mental fuel that makes us better. So we've established what this performance mindset is, how it functions, and why it's important. But now let's look at some strategies as to how we can implement that performance mindset before, during, and after our runs. Now, the first strategy that he brought up is to expect success. In your pre-run visualization or even going into a run, just expect that whatever you're going to do that day is going to be successful. And I think this is a very important piece to look at, and I want to kind of unpack this a little bit. It all depends on what your definition of success is for that moment. Because some days it's rocking a tempo run or nailing all of those 20 miles, or it's forcing yourself to stay out there in the worst conditions humanly possible and just getting it done. A couple of other strategies that Dr. Ross brought up is kind of obvious, but staying positive, being mindful of how you are talking to yourself, how you are thinking about the runs and the work that is surrounding you, and just make sure that if you are in that negative headspace, that you kind of try to flip it around and make it something positive. Now, Dr. Ross brought up this fun little anecdote and this fun little exercise that I thought was really interesting. Now, bear with me here for a second. What he said was that for the next week, just look at everything in a negative light. Like, just be completely down on yourself, on your running, and all of that. Are you laughing? Because I totally started laughing when I heard this, and I thought, that sounds awful. Who would do that to themselves? And I think that's the point. That's the point, because he brought this up. He said, just thinking about doing that sounds terrible. It makes you not want to even go there. So if you can turn your thinking around and think of things in a positive performance perspective, then you will see gains. If you constantly spend time in that negative headspace, you will see how that affects your performance. So if you turn it around and make it a positive exercise, you spend a week looking at everything in a positive light, think about how that's going to affect your performance. Dr. Ross then talks about how to keep that mindset going during your runs. If you find yourself kind of mentally breaking down and thinking inward and thinking, okay, this hurts and I'm uncomfortable and this isn't any fun anymore, the idea is that we shift our focus to something external. Think about how pretty it is outside, think about the crowd, look for funny marathon signs, or encourage the runners that are coming by you. Find ways to get out of your head with some positive self-talk and some mantras to get you through. The last thing Dr. Ross talks about is how to put your runs away. What do you do after your workout? Now, this is kind of important because we are working on before and during the runs, but what do we do after? Okay, we walk in, we turn off our watch, and we check the box. We're done, we can move on with our day now. But I would encourage you to spend a couple of minutes after every run thinking about what you just did. What I like to do is I upload my data from my Garmin into Garmin Connect, and then I will just write a couple of quick notes. How did it feel? What was I thinking about? How was my mind? How was my body? This kind of sets the run in my mind, and it turns it into a learning experience rather than just a box to check before I can get on with the rest of my day. My question for you today is this: how much time do you spend on training up your mental fitness and mental toughness. Please leave thoughts, questions, comments, and suggestions in the comment section down below. And as always, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe for more great stuff from this channel. And if you want to know more about the mental side of running, check out these videos right here. That's it for me today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Go find your awesome. Until next time, happy running.